You ever drive up your own gravel road after a long week thinking you'll finally catch a break, only to find your life hijacked by people who think your memories are just scenery for their party? Because the day my Ford F-150 rolled past that last bend, and I saw 500 strangers, rows of white chairs, and a four-tiered wedding cake right where my dad used to stack hay, I felt my blood boil hotter than the blacktop in August. There was Karen Wellington, HOA president, queen of all things plastic and perfect, standing dead center in my pasture with her helmet-stiff silver hair grinning like she'd just conquered Rome. The smell of diesel and expensive perfume fought for air, wedding music blasting over the sound of generators, an invasion of silk and entitlement trampling a patch of land soaked with my family's sweat and memory. That wasn't just a field out there, it's where I kissed Sarah for the first time, where wildflowers pushed up every spring, no matter what cancer took from us. I can still read a storm by the smell of the wind, still wake at dawn, with the cattle lowing just like my dad taught me before his hands curled up and his lungs gave out. This land isn't ours. He'd say we just keep it safe for the next ones. He left me 12 acres, a handshake promise, and a daughter, Lily, who understood more about legacy at 16 than most people do in a lifetime. Let me back up a sec. Karen came marching into my life about a month before that wedding circus, pink boots, clipboard measuring tape dragging behind her like a leash on a poodle. She measured everything, never looking for compliance, only ammunition. The distance from cow pies to fence, the height of the mailbox, the angle of my old barbed wire, she wasn't trying to help. She was casing the place for weak spots. 3 weeks later, I found an anonymous note in my mailbox. Someone at the courthouse tipped me off Meadowview Community Development, LLC. Karen's backers had been nosing around my deed, waving copies of paperwork I'd never seen. Be careful, it said. My hand shook, reading it thin, paper-heavy words. They were coming for my land, not with bulldozers, but with pens and loopholes. That wedding wasn't some mix-up. It was the opening shot in a war I hadn't agreed to fight. I saw Karen's son Bradley smiling on land stolen from my family music, drowning out the memory of Sarah, humming at the clothesline. But here's where Karen miscalculated. She figured a rancher like me would just stomp and shout, not think or fight back. She had no idea I already had a warning, or that the folks she'd written off as simple were quietly gathering evidence of their own. Next morning, just before sunrise, the phone rings. Janet Cooper from the courthouse, 20 years in the job and zero patience for nonsense. Jack, you need to get down here now. Someone filed papers saying your dad donated your land to the HOA in 2003. Signature looks real, but the paper and watermark are dead wrong. Someone's faking things big time. I sat in that courthouse, harsh lights, old coffee paperwork spread out like a crime scene, and it hit me this was bigger than Karen. There was a rubber approval stamp reported stolen months ago on that donation form, a consultant's card, and every detail just off enough to set off alarms. Janet's not the kind of woman to panic, but she looked scared. That scared me worse than anything. I needed eyes on my land, so I turned to Pete Rodriguez, Air Force vet neighbor, and the kind of guy who keeps logs like they're classified. He'd already spotted late-night visitors. Karen yellow tape survey stakes midnight trespassing. He even collected a pink thread from the barbed wire and shoe prints size 8 high-end. Pete's notebook. Betty Nakamura's trained eye on signatures, fountain pen versus ballpoint, it all stacked up. So time for a showdown. Karen's HOA office, sandwiched between a nail salon and a takeout joint, smelling like fresh paint and desperation. She was there, drumming her tape, flanked by Derek Matthews' shady document solutions guy suit held together with duct tape business cards with typos. It would have been funny if it wasn't so dangerous. They thought they could just forge their way to a fortune, never mind who got trampled. By then, Lily had joined the fight. My kid, 16, but already a detective, dug up Karen's wedding venue business plan, fake maps, even deposit records. Maria Gonzalez, a caterer, had quotes from Karen for events she'd already booked at our ranch, real money changing hands for venues that weren't hers to sell. Helen Walsh. Karen's overworked assistant finally cracked and confessed Karen planned to plant drugs in my truck frame me, then claim the land through emergency seizure. Just when things seemed bleakest, a twist. Judge Patricia Wood showing up in her bathrobe, flashlight shaking. She'd been pressured by Karen's husband Richard to play along. When she refused, he threatened her pension and reputation. But Judge Wood did the right thing, calling in an emergency order, every citation, every fee, every action by Karen's HOA null and void, thanks to forged incorporation documents. Karen's next move, pure nuclear. She filed a federal complaint accusing me of being an agricultural extremist, triggering an FBI search. She handed out glossy flyers, tried to turn neighbors against me, drummed up a town hall circus with phony testimonials. But my side brought receipts, Betty, Pete, Maria, even Bradley, witness after witness, evidence after evidence, all out in the open. Wedding day, 500 people poured onto my pasture like ants at a picnic. Maria's crew prepped evacuation routes. Pete and his radios watched every angle, and my bulls, thunder, lightning, tornado grazed on high alert. The tension was thicker than mud. Sheriff Davis arrived with Judge Wood's injunction. Karen's victory shriveled the moment she read it. She screamed, stomped, refused to leave. Then came my moment I opened the gate. Thunder sniffed that cake and with one nudge sent it tumbling. Frosting flew. Karen shrieked, guests scattered pandemonium. Maria's horn blasts sent her crew into action. Elderly guests were ushered to safety, and Bradley, bless the kid, stood up to his mother on live TV. "I'm sorry, Mr. Morrison. This isn't who we are." Even Tiffany, his bride, cake-stained dress, and all shook my hand and thanked me for my bulls. It didn't end there. Derek Matthews tried to sneak drugs into my truck, caught red-handed on camera by Betty and her walker swinging her purse like a warrior. The feds swooped in turns. Out-agent Sarah Chen was Betty's daughter, tipped off weeks ago. The whole racket unraveled: mail fraud, interstate fraud. Even the Bar Association turned on Richard Wellington. Karen lost everything: her mansion, her jewelry, her place at the top. Betty became the new HOA president and tore down all the bogus rules, building real community instead. The ranch got legal protection. The bulls became local legends. Pete went pro as a property rights consultant, and Maria's catering business thrived. 6 months later, a letter arrived from Karen's sister, Margaret, revealing their family once owned this land before a wartime sale. Made me wonder if all these fights over land ever really end or just change hands across generations. But I stood at Sarah's grave, wildflowers blooming again, and told her we kept our promise. The land's still breathing, lilies strong. And the community, at least the ones who matter, know the difference between justice and revenge. You tell me, where's the line between standing your ground and going too far? What would you have done? Drop your stories, your thoughts on justice down in the comments. And if you believe ordinary people can still win against power and greed, smash that like button, subscribe, and stick around for the next wild story. Because sometimes the real battles are won with courage, neighbors, and refusing to let go of what matters, no matter how hard they try to take it from you.